Cool. So there is a phrase that gets bandied about a lot called the PM is the CEO of the product. It's like being a mini CEO. Do you agree or disagree with that statement, and why?
So I'll answer the question in saying I agree with it, but I think there's a point in here that is really important to outline, that I think a lot of people don't really understand what being the CEO really means. And I'll tell a quick story. We was part of a team before, and we went out and acquired another company. And when we brought that team in, we brought the CEO in to be basically a product manager.
Yep.
And he came in, and I was kind of talking to him a little bit like, oh, how is it different? Does it feel, very weird? And he's like, well, to be really honest with you, I've really enjoyed being here because I don't have to do a lot of the things that I used to spend my time on, like taking out the trash or going to Costco to get snacks for the team.
Literally,
or like
stocking the office,
writing invoices for certain things, certain things that we're doing. And so it's what's funny is I think being a PM is actually very much like being a CEO in that your job is not constrained to making decisions. It's not constrained to setting a roadmap. It's actually much broader. And with that comes a lot of the things, that you just need to do, like somebody on the team needs to do. It may be like cleanup work. It may be going and doing QA that nobody wants to do. It may be going and talking to some customers that have been complaining about the product, which like obviously in an ideal case, you have a team that can go do all of these types of things. But when you're the CEO and you have a set of constrained resources, you're the one responsible. If you're going to put your resources towards, like, let's say, bringing on another engineer instead of bringing on like a marketing person or a salesperson, then it's really important for you to realize that you are now going to become the thing or the role that you do not have on your team. So I think I agree with it, but not for the reasons that I think a lot of people are attracted to wanting to be the CEO.
Right. Like, so it's generally correct. And one of the reasons it's correct is because there's a lot of actually, let's call it like, go put out the worst fire aspect of being a CEO. And that sort of applies to being a PM as well.
100%. And the other things ring true as well. I think being in charge of the decisions, being ultimately accountable to those decisions is like definitely true.
Yeah.
Having to make really hard decisions and making trade-offs is a kind of a core piece of it. So all the things you think of and why that's true are still true. Yeah. But I think this other piece is really important to call out.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. I think the part about ultimately, like if the product is not doing well, or ultimately if it is succeeding on the flip side, like the PM will tend to get a lot of credit because, people look at that person, he or she is pulling the whole team and the effort together for better or worse. And so if it's not going well, people, if the product technically works, like the code is sound, but the product's still not working, like most likely people will come to the PM and be like, what's the deal? Yeah.
Which for me, like, is both the hardest part of the job, but also the best part of the job. Because it's, and I say this to a lot of folks that work on my team, having accountability is, in a lot of people's minds, a very challenging thing, right? Being ultimately responsible for something is something that feels very challenging, but it's also incredibly empowering. Mm-hmm. Because you actually have the power to make decisions because you're going to be ultimately the one that has to answer for them. Yeah. And so I think, especially in my team where I try to drive a lot more accountability within the product organization in general, helping people to understand that, when you are the CEO, there's these advantages, there's these disadvantages, but ultimately, that's kind of why you want the job.
Yeah. Cool.